If you look at the two drawings on the schematics on the left, the middle one and the left one, uh, you're not going to really see a lot of fractures that you can see through a complete access. And those fractures are oftentimes very helpful to take the dam off. Maybe you need to reprobe. You want to see if there's a pocket. Of course, you're going to look at your films, and if you have CBCT, you'll look at different axial slices to see the adaptation of the bone to the cervical region of the tooth. But you really want to get the walls pulled back appropriately so you can visualize cracks, their extent, their direction, and then go from there. Also, we're not talking about it, but it should be obvious which of those three styles of access cavities would hold the biggest reservoir of reagent. So again, if you're looking ahead to why are we even here? Why are we doing a root canal? It's to extract the pulp and replace it with a rubber pulp. Rubber is a C5H11 hydrocarbon. So if we're going to do that, doesn't it just make sense if you have a bigger chamber, a bigger reservoir, you can replenish your reagents, fresh reagents, then you can activate those reagents and you'll get them to move and exchange into the uninstrumentable portions of the space.
Okay, and you did mention too that you're going to need, if you're doing one of these very limited access sizes like the Ninja or the Orifice Directed, which I guess you said is also called truss access?
Truss.
Okay, well if you're using those, we've mentioned, and I think we'll probably even mention later in this segment, that it's best to have like a microscope, CBCT, this type of technology that helps you in this type of situation, and it's all very expensive. But then I would maybe even add that you might, since we were just talking about fractures, maybe you also want interview, because then you can check the tooth we've talked about it a lot the last year or so. So
that's great you're bringing that up.
So if you have a technology like that, maybe that could help with checking for fractures.
Because interview, the language changes as experiences change, and so there's an evolution in how we speak. But the thing that the company came up with, Parametrics, was internal mobility, which seems obvious, but we talked about loose things. This might be broken. Buildup could have broken. The post might be loose. The crown's actually loose. All that's internal mobility. And internal mobility can be as subtle as a gentle breeze, or it can be like there's something really loose here. So we don't see the early ones. The patients don't have sensations about internal mobility until sometimes it's catastrophic.
Okay, and then another thing you just were talking about, this complete access has a bigger reservoir to hold irrigant. Well, maybe if you're trying to work in one of these more limited accesses, and you don't have a big reservoir to hold irrigant, then maybe it might be a good idea to have something like the endocator, which can test.
Randy Cross. All right, so Randy's always, and I love how he does report this. He'll say on the discussion forum, which is a international forum for endodontists, sponsored by the AAE, and so you can post. And so Randy's been posting a little bit lately. It's nice. He was a resident when I first met him, and now he's out there and he's in the real world and he's practicing. But he'll finish a canal, and the question is, am I ready to pack? Well, he'll do an ATP reading. He'll want to know, how much biological material is still residual. And if he sees scores that he knows from his baseline, in his experience, in his office, in his geographical area, if he sees scores that are too high, he will either go up a file size to remove more substrate that potentially is there, or he might run the cycle again of how he does his disinfection protocols. And then he can see the score. Then he can retest, because this is a chairside test. It takes just seconds. And he can show you the score reduced significantly. You're going to have a lot of false positives in an orifice-directed access where you still have tissue under cornices and under soffits, which would be the pulpal roof. And I loved a guy's ignorant remark recently on the AAE where he said, well, I have the technology to remove the entrapped tissue that's up in the horns and in the truss area. Well, wait a minute. Are we teaching to the 1%ers, or are we teaching endodontics to the 99%ers? Let's just say it this way. out of the whole world of international endodontics, what do you think the gentle wave use is? Is it 0.5% of 1%? Is it 1%? Is it even as much as 3%? So I'm not talking to those people. I would talk to them as a teacher, as a friend, but like, you want to brag about, I have laser. Okay, well, more and more people have lasers than will ever have gentle wave, but not every dentist that has a laser uses it for endodontics.